He started from nothing and built his fortune through drug trafficking, eventually becoming one of the richest people in the world. In 2009, Forbes ranked him 41st on its list of the world's most powerful people, and he appeared on that list in subsequent years as well. He was also widely described by Forbes as one of the world's most notorious criminals. He became one of the FBI's and Interpol's most wanted fugitives. His name is Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán. Guzmán built one of the most powerful drug empires in Mexico since the late 20th century. By 2015, his cartel was estimated to have generated over $14 billion in revenue and had operations in more than 50 countries worldwide. He ran both legal and illegal businesses like a pro, building a network that was nearly untouchable. Even though he was caught twice, he managed to escape prison both times. His life was full of twists. Now let's rewind to 1957 and take a closer look at the criminal life of Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán. Badiraguato is in the northwestern part of Mexico, in the state of Sinaloa, right in the middle of what is known as the Mexican Triangle. The area is scenic, but the economy is poor, and most people make a living farming, but they do not grow ordinary crops. Instead, they grow marijuana and poppies. Because of this, the region is often called the land of drugs. On April 4, 1957, Joaquín Guzmán was born into a poor farming family. He had 2 sisters and 4 brothers, and reportedly a few older siblings who died young. His family made a living growing marijuana and poppies, and not much is known about his childhood, except that he once sold fruit to help out at home. Guzmán was about 5 feet 6 inches tall, but was stocky, which earned him the nickname Shorty. When he was 15, he started working in family marijuana fields. At this stage, he was just a small part of the larger drug operations, earning very little. After a few years of local drug work, he became connected with the Guadalajara Cartel, one of Mexico's major cartels at the time, and began working for them. That's when his rise in the drug business really began. Early in his career, Guzmán was transporting drugs from the Sierra Madre region to urban areas near the U.S.-Mexico border. Guzmán was ambitious and regularly pressed on his superiors to allow him to increase the share of narcotics that were smuggled across the border. He gradually moved from a low-level transporter to a mid-level leader. He expanded his operations and influence over time. At the same time, he got even more ruthless. He often used violence to get things done, sometimes beating or even killing people. If a subordinate messed up, he wouldn't hesitate to kill them. Everyone around him feared him, and his reputation for violence grew. This even caught the attention of Félix Gallardo, the leader of the Guadalajara Cartel, also known as the Godfather. Gallardo liked Guzmán's approach and business sense, so he gave him more responsibility. That's when Guzmán's career in the drug trade really took off, and his position in the cartel kept rising. As drug trafficking increased, both the U.S. and Mexican governments began cracking down on traffickers. There was an undercover DEA agent named Enrique Camarena Salazar. He was a highly effective informant who gathered intelligence on the Guadalajara cartel. The information he provided caused the cartel to suffer major losses. Angered by what they saw as a betrayal, Félix Gallardo and his men took revenge by kidnapping, torturing, and killing Camarena. The death of Camarena outraged the U.S. government, and Mexico responded by carrying out a massive manhunt to arrest those involved in the incident. In 1989, Félix Gallardo was finally arrested, and the cartel began to fall apart. At this point, Guzmán and his close ally, Héctor El Güero Palma, took advantage of the chaos to gain more power and take over more drug trafficking operations. They secured key smuggling routes into the U.S., but that was just the start. To move large amounts of drugs more efficiently, Guzmán came up with new smuggling methods that helped him stand out from other traffickers. First, Guzmán relied on underground tunnel transportation. He invested heavily in constructing secret tunnels near the U.S.-Mexico border, particularly in the San Diego area. These tunnels were equipped with ventilation systems, electricity, and rail tracks, allowing drugs to be transported underground from Mexico into the United States without detection. Second, Guzmán ran legitimate-looking businesses and hid cocaine in chili cans and other food products. By bribing officials along the way, he was able to move huge amounts of drugs across the border by rail. Third, he even used catapults. When the U.S. built high border fences to stop drug smuggling, Guzmán reportedly used large mechanical catapults to send packages of drugs over the border. Under Guzmán's leadership, his organization expanded rapidly, becoming one of the most powerful drug trafficking groups in history. But his rise wasn't smooth. Between 1989 and 1993, Guzmán faced internal and external conflicts, including power struggles with former leaders from the Felix family, which led to assassinations, shootouts, and constant threats. In 1993, at Guadalajara International Airport, the two sides clashed in another violent shootout. During the shootout, Cardinal Juan Jesus Posadas Ocampo was mistakenly caught in the crossfire and killed along with others. However, Guzmán managed to escape. This caused national outrage, including from the Mexican president and the church, and triggered a massive manhunt. Around this time, the police released Guzmán's first official photos, which were broadcast widely on TV and in newspapers, and a $5 million reward was announced for information leading to his capture. Guzmán now had to lay low. His plan was to move across Guatemala with his girlfriend and several of his bodyguards and settle in El Salvador. During his travel, Mexican and Guatemalan authorities were tracking his movements. To evade capture, Guzmán paid a Guatemalan official with $1.2 million to allow him to hide south of the Mexican border. The unnamed official, however, passed information about Guzmán's whereabouts to law enforcement. On June 9, 1993, Guzmán was arrested by the military at a hotel in Guatemala. He was later extradited to Mexico, sentenced to 20 years and 9 months in prison, and held at the maximum security Puente Grande prison in Jalisco. Although Guzmán was in prison, his drug empire continued to operate unabated. He bribed prison workers to maintain his opulent lifestyle, with guards acting like his servants, and he could still run his operations from behind bars. The only thing he lacked was freedom. Knowing he couldn't wait more than 20 years for his sentence to end, he began planning an escape. On January 18, 2011, Guzmán successfully escaped, reportedly using a laundry cart to leave the maximum security prison in Puente Grande, Jalisco. The escape reportedly cost him $2.5 million. Logically, after escaping, Guzmán should have kept a low profile, but he didn't. Instead, he expanded his drug empire even further. By 2014, it had been 13 years since Guzmán escaped from prison, and he had still not been caught. The Mexican police were desperate to arrest him. Following a joint operation by the Mexican Navy, with intelligence support from the DEA and U.S. Marshals, Guzmán was found hiding in room 401 of the Miramar condominiums. The Mexican Navy, with over 65 Marines, carried out the operation successfully and captured him without incident. U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder said Guzmán had caused death and destruction of millions of lives across the globe and called the arrest a landmark achievement and a victory for the citizens of both Mexico and the United States. Leaders from several countries congratulated the Mexican president on finally capturing the notorious criminal. News of Guzmán's capture made it to the headlines of many media outlets across the U.S., Latin America, and Europe. On Twitter, Mexico and Guzmán's capture were trending topics at that time. Guzmán was imprisoned in Mexico City's maximum security Federal Social Readaptation Center No. 1. He lived under 23 hours of solitary confinement with constant surveillance, making escape extremely difficult. But as the Mexican government was preparing to put him on trial, something completely unexpected happened. On July 11, 2015, a little over a year after being imprisoned, Guzmán vanished. He was last seen near the shower area in his cell, the only part not covered by security cameras. After 25 minutes without him appearing on surveillance, the guards went to check and found that Guzmán was gone. It was discovered he had escaped through a tunnel leading from the shower area to a house construction site 1.5 kilometers away in a Santa Juanita neighborhood. The tunnel lay 10 meters deep underground, 1.7 meters tall, and 75 centimeters in width. It was equipped with artificial light, air ducts, and a motorcycle for transport. Clearly, Guzmán couldn't have built such tunnel by himself, and there's no way he had the time to do it. Guzmán's escape triggered a wide-ranging manhunt. The search began immediately and eventually expanded across the entire state of Mexico, while the prison was placed on lockdown and all officials were investigated. The government, however, was heavily criticized for the incident. Critics argued that Guzmán's escape exposed deep corruption within the system. To track him down, the government offered a reward of up to 60 million pesos, and investigations later confirmed that multiple prison officials had accepted bribes and would face prosecution. Meanwhile, Guzmán did not stay idle. He reached out to Kate del Castillo and allegedly sought to cooperate with her on a film about his life. American actor and screenwriter Sean Penn secretly met with both Guzmán and Castillo at a hideout. Several days later, an unnamed Mexican official confirmed that the meeting had helped authorities locate Guzmán, using cell phone interceptions and information from American authorities. On January 8, 2016, the Mexican Navy Special Forces, with support from the Army and federal police, raided Guzmán's hideout. He managed to escape through a secret tunnel, but was intercepted by the federal police about 20 kilometers away. This was Guzmán's third and last time being caught. News of his arrest set off celebrations all across Mexico. On January 19, 2017, Guzmán was extradited to the United States to face charges including drug trafficking, money laundering, and illegal possession of firearms. After a long trial, on July 17, 2019, he was sentenced to life in prison plus 30 years and ordered to forfeit more than $12.6 billion. Guzmán's arrest wasn't just a big deal in Mexico. People around the world had reason to be relieved, as his drug network had spread across dozens of countries, causing immense suffering. Countless lives were ruined by addiction, and families were torn apart. With his conviction, those affected by drugs and the fight against trafficking could finally feel a sense of justice. And that's the story of the notorious drug lord, Joaquín Guzmán.